Hi, today we'll take a look at community interactions. If you remember from the previous chapter, a community is a group of populations living in the same area and interacting with each other. And the example we used in the last chapter was we have a population of deer and a population of grasses and shrubs and a population of birds and a population of wolves and foxes and a population of, let's say, bunny rabbits, all living in the same area interacting with each other. That group is called a community. On this image, which is a pretty cool image, you can see one type of interaction between two organisms. You have a crocodile and you have this small bird, a plover. And they have this crazy thing going on. It looks like this bird is on a suicide mission. Why on earth would it fly into the mouth of this big scary crocodile? And how come the crocodile isn't doing anything about it? It's got food in its mouth. All it needs to do is close its jaw and it can have a nice snack, but it's not doing it. And what's happening here is the crocodile is receiving free dental services from the bird. The bird, in exchange, is getting a meal. It's eating leeches and parasites and other undesirables that are inside of the crocodile's mouth. It's a pretty cool relationship, right? One problem. This is fake. Never in science have scientists have actually observed this relationship take place. It's a myth. It's a really, really widespread myth. So widespread that I learned about this relationship between crocodiles and birds inside of a college textbook. Since then, it's turned out that this is false and that it hasn't actually been observed in nature. So what about this really convincing image? Well, this image is about as real as this one. This goes to show why you have to take information that's online with a grain of salt, and you really have to be critical and do some research to determine what's real and what's fake. So I showed you fake images so far, but today's lesson is going to have equally awesome images and equally interesting relationships that are in fact real. So let's go on and see some of those. The first type of community relationship we'll discuss is predation. And this is an act of one organism killing the other food. You're probably familiar with the term predator and prey. Predator is the one doing the killing, and the prey is the one that's being hunted. You can see examples here with the cheetah and with the shark. And you can see that somebody, the prey in these pictures, they're having a way worse day than you are. And the other interesting thing to note about predation is the fact that predator and prey co-evolve with each other. They develop adaptations in response to one another. So, for example, a seal population might evolve to be cleverer and smarter and more streamlined and faster swimmers. As the seal population changes, the great white shark population would have to change too, otherwise it would die out and disappear. So these are some predator-prey interactions. The second type of interaction is called herbivory. Plants get a bad rap for being super boring, but plants actually aren't as passive as we think of them. They have ways of defending themselves. Some plants have scary thorns and spikes, kind of like roses do. Some have chemical compounds that taste really bad, and animals don't want to eat them for that reason. And still, many plants, have things inside of them, poisons and toxins that can kill herbivores and any organism trying to eat them. So you want to see a cool video with herbivory? Take a look at these guys. These are adorable little herbivores who are practicing herbivory right now. Okay. The second type of relationship we're going to take a look at is competition. We already talked about competition a little bit last time, and we'll talk a little bit more about it today. Competition occurs when organisms fight for the same limited resource. This could be a water supply. This could be a type of prey item. This could be fighting for mates. And there are two types of competition, intraspecific. This occurs between members of the same species. So up at the top, it looks like these giraffes are cuddling, but they absolutely are not cuddling. They are attacking each other. The giraffe on the left has swung his neck trying to take out the other giraffe. They are both males and they are fighting over a lovely lady giraffe that's not on the picture. On the bottom, you see what's known as interspecific competition, which occurs between different species. So you have a lioness here and you have some hyenas, and they have gotten into a fight over a kill that the lion is not interested in sharing with the hyenas. Symbiosis. Symbiosis is a relationship in which two species live in a close association with one another. And there are three symbiotic relationships: parasitism, mutualism, and commensalism. The first is parasitism. Now, in parasitism, one organism is helped and the other one is harmed. Parasites often live on or inside of their host, and the host is usually larger and the parasite is usually smaller, and the parasite is usually, the host is usually harmed and not killed. Here is an example of parasitism. You have a horrible, disgusting, no good tick that's attached itself to its host, in this case, a human being. And the tick is going to harm its host. It's going to be possibly infecting the host with something like Lyme disease and feeding on the host, but the host will probably not die as a result. This is a typical and classic example of parasitism. Other examples include tapeworms, fleas, and ticks. I actually have a true story about parasitism about one of my friends who volunteered overseas. She joined the Peace Corps, and she actually was flown to Madagascar, and she was going to help set up a program for women and children in Madagascar. And she got pretty sick while she was on this mission. And they kept trying to figure out what was wrong with her, and they couldn't really get it. And she just kept on losing weight. She was eating, but she kept on losing weight and losing weight, losing weight. And eventually they found out that she had some tapeworms that were taking away her nutrition and leading to her weight loss and sickness. And it was actually pretty tough to treat, and she had to be evacuated and sent home so she could recover and get better. And she did get better, but it was a very scary and uncomfortable experience for her. So these are parasites. The second type of mutualism is much more positive. This occurs when both species in the symbiotic relationship benefit. They mutually benefit. That's why it is called mutualism. An example of mutualism is this relationship here. You have a cleaner fish, this cute little cleaner fish over here, and it's eating parasites inside of the eel's mouth, kind of like with the crocodile and the plover, except this is a real relationship that has been documented in nature. The third type of relationship is not so bad either. In commensalism, one species benefits and the other is neither harmed nor helped. It's kind of like the other species just doesn't even care that the first species is being helped. An example of this, a non-creepy example of this, occurs between orchids and trees. Orchids are these really cool plants you can buy in all different kinds of places, like Home Depot and IKEA and plant stores. And they actually live in the jungle, and they grow on these trees. And the reason they attach to the trees is so that they can get some sunlight, which they need because they are plants and they perform photosynthesis. The tree, which has this orchid attached to it, does not care. It could care less that the orchid is using it as a location to live on because the tree is not harmed, it's not helped either. This is called commensalism. A more creepy example is here on the bottom, and it occurs between humans and eyelash mites. So this here is a human eyelash. As it turns out, our eyelashes are a home to these little mites. And the mites are basically, they eat stuff inside of your follicles. And they do this without, they basically eat oil secretions in our hair follicles. And it turns out that that doesn't hurt us in any way. It doesn't bother us. It doesn't make us itch. However, now that you know about it, you're probably super creeped out about it. This would be an example of commensalism, because before you knew about this, you weren't being harmed, you weren't being bothered by it, but the eyelash mite got some really cool things out of this deal. So these were the 3 types of symbiotic relationships. And today, just to summarize, we learned about lots of interactions that occur in a community, like predation and herbivory and competition and parasitism and mutualism and commensalism. So I hope that was helpful. Thank you for watching.